Hi, everybody, and welcome to Teaching Tip Tuesday, brought to you by the Center for Inclusive Teaching and Learning here at UWSP. This week, I'd like to talk to you about metacognition. Metacognition is thinking about thinking, and research shows that it's important for lasting learning and for developing the habits of lifelong learning. One of the main components of metacognition is reflecting on what we know and don't know. Unfortunately, most students approach learning as they were trained to in their secondary education experience, mindlessly using the same strategies for learning and studying, regardless of their effectiveness. They don't really think about thinking. In order to help some of our struggling students improve their learning efficacy and academic performance, it's important that we foster the development of metacognition in our classrooms. Let's cover 3 ways that you can do this. First, you can help students to practice recognizing what they don't understand. You can do this by beginning or ending a lesson by asking them what was confusing about the lesson or a homework assignment. Be sure that you make the environment a safe place to voice confusion and to make mistakes. Remember to tell your students about the trouble that you had when you were first learning this material. Praise students who voice their difficulties. Make sure that you name specific positive behaviors when you're giving this feedback because students will see through fakeness right away. Find rightness in their wrong answers and give positive reinforcement for participating. Finally, make sure that you emphasize a growth mindset and that lack of understanding now is transient. By keeping with it, by applying themselves, students will eventually understand, and that mistakes and misunderstandings are part of this process. Second, make sure that you take time to review. Reviews are usually the first time that students have an opportunity to think about whether or not they've understood parts of the lesson. It's important to put the students at the center of the review process rather than simply summarizing the lesson for them. You can use a wrapper exercise in which you ask students to identify the main concepts, processes, or skills that were covered in the lesson. It's often best if you allow them to work in small groups because this encourages participation and vocalization of ideas. It also helps them to feel supported by interaction with other students. If you start them off with pointed questions that ask them what's and why's associated with your learning outcomes, it can give them a better starting point so that they aren't starting blind. Remember that using comparisons and contrasts, as well as getting them to generate analogies to learning experiences or dissecting those novel examples of something that you've covered, can help them to really dig into what it is that they understand about the lesson and what they don't understand. Third, make sure that you integrate self-reflection into your course. Canvas discussion boards are great for this. Let the students voice what they already know or understand and ask them to identify what they're still having trouble with. Most importantly, make sure that they identify their plan for changing this condition so that they can improve their knowledge and skills. The more specific they are in their plan, including the times that they'll engage in study or review or problem solving, the more ownership of their learning experience they'll take, and the greater the effects on their metacognition. Remember that helping students to develop good habits of metacognition will foster deeper learning and longer retention of material. It will make your students better at learning. And that's this week's teaching tip, brought to you by the Center for Inclusive Teaching and Learning here at UWSP. Remember, at CITL, we offer support for course design, learning activities, assessment, and pedagogy. Please visit our website to schedule a consult today.